Hello, and welcome back to Quiet Vitality. I'm so glad you found a moment of peace here with us. Maybe you're settling in for the evening, or perhaps you're seeking a quiet companion for a restful afternoon. However you arrived, this space is for you. A place where we talk about health and vitality, not with urgency or alarm, but with curiosity, gentleness, and deep respect for the journey your body has traveled. Tonight, we're going to tell a story. It's not a story with a sudden beginning or a dramatic end. It's the story of a gentle clock, the one that ticks within each of us. The story of how our bodies change with the passing years, and more importantly, how we can listen to them, support them, and find a profound sense of well-being in the rhythm they set. We won't be counting calories with sternness or tracking steps with rigidity. Instead, we'll wander through the inner landscapes of bone and blood, muscle and mind. We'll explore how simple, daily acts of nourishment, restful quiet, and kind movement aren't just items on a checklist, but are like gentle breaths that fill the sails of our long-term health. We'll discover why the body, especially as it accumulates wisdom, often responds not to the crash of a wave, but to the consistent, nurturing lap of the tide. So, let your own breathing slow. Let the room around you soften. There's nothing to do but listen, rest, and perhaps see your own incredible body in a new, gentle light. Let's begin. Welcoming the quiet wisdom of years. Think of a very old tree, an oak that has stood in a field for 300 years. Its bark is textured, thick, and lined with crevices that tell stories of droughts and storms. Its branches don't shoot straight upwards with the sapling's frantic reach. They spread wide, sometimes dipping low, in a posture of offering shade. It moves, but slowly, in a wind that would make younger trees thrash. It is not less than the young tree. It is different. It has traded the sheer, explosive potential of rapid growth for a deep, resilient stability. It has learned to draw resources from a vast network of roots, to store energy with patience, and to shed what it no longer needs in its own time. Your body, as it ages, is on a similar journey, from rapid growth and expansion to a phase of magnificent consolidation, resilience, and depth. For decades, our cultural narrative around aging has been one of decline, loss, and fight. We're told to anti-age, to combat wrinkles, to battle stiffness. This language is so inherently violent, so at odds with the actual biological process, which is one of exquisite and continuous adaptation. What if we shifted the story? What if we saw the changes not as faults, but as features of a system that is intelligently adjusting to a long, long journey? The slowing of your metabolism isn't a failure. It's an adjustment to needing fewer raw materials for construction and more for meticulous repair. The deepening of sleep's lighter stages isn't broken sleep. It's often the nervous system's wise adaptation, allowing for more awareness of one's environment, a trait that had survival value for our ancestors, and now offers its own form of quiet nighttime contemplation. Aging is not a disease. It is a universal, natural process. Every single organism that enjoys a long life undergoes it. The goal of quiet vitality isn't to stop the clock, a futile and exhausting endeavor, but to understand its tempo, to oil its gentle gears, and to ensure it ticks smoothly, clearly, and as long as it is meant to. This is about vitality, which is the capacity for life, for joy, for engagement, at any age. It's about having the energy to watch a grandchild play, the ease to bend and tend a garden, the clarity of mind to lose oneself in a good book, the comfort to enjoy a meal with friends. This kind of vitality is built not in a day, but across thousands of them. It is woven from threads of daily routine, simple foods, deep rest, and movement that feels more like a gift to the body than a punishment. So, as we embark on this calm exploration, I invite you to release any sense of anxiety or having fallen behind. There is no behind. There is only here, now, in the body you have today. A body that is the living record of every laugh, every step, every challenge met, every quiet moment survived. It is worthy of profound kindness, and understanding it is the first, deepest act of that kindness. We're going to start at the very smallest level, in the quiet hum of your very cells, to understand the source of this gentle, ongoing change. To understand the story of the aging body, we must first visit its most fundamental citizens, our cells. Imagine trillions of tiny, luminous workshops, each performing its specialized task. Some are muscle fibers contracting, some are nerve cells firing signals, some are skin cells offering protection, some are intestinal cells absorbing nourishment. For decades, these workshops hum along, dividing to create new cells, repairing damage from the sun, from use, from life itself. But like any finely tuned machine run for a long, long time, subtle changes begin to accumulate in the very architecture of these cellular workshops. One of the central concepts is that of cellular senescence. This is a state where a cell, after many, many divisions, decides to stop dividing altogether. It's not dead, it's retired. It remains in the tissue, metabolically active, but no longer replicating. Think of it as a wise elder in the community, no longer doing the heavy lifting of reproduction, but still present. In small numbers, these senescent cells play a role in wound healing and preventing damaged cells from turning cancerous, a beneficial, protective retirement. However, as time passes, more and more cells enter this retired state. And like a town with too many retirees and not enough active workers, the tissue's ability to regenerate and repair itself slows down. This is why a scrape on the knee of a child heals in days, while the same scrape on an older adult might take weeks. The repair crew is smaller, and it works at a more careful, deliberate pace. This limit on divisions is linked to tiny, protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes, our DNA's instruction manuals, called telomeres. Imagine them as the plastic aglets on the ends of a shoelace, preventing the lace from fraying. Every time a cell divides, these telomere caps get a tiny bit shorter. After 50 to 70 divisions, the telomeres become so short that the cell receives a signal to stop dividing and enter that senescent state. It's a built-in, elegant clock at the genetic level. While lifestyle factors like chronic stress and poor diet can accelerate this shortening, and things like a healthy diet and moderate exercise may help preserve telomere length, the shortening itself is a natural part of the cellular life cycle. It's not a flaw. It's a design feature that likely evolved to prevent cells from replicating errors forever, which could lead to malignancies. Alongside this, the quality control systems within the cell become a little less stringent over time. Proteins, the building blocks and machinery of the cell, are constantly being produced and folded into precise, functional shapes. With age, the processes that ensure perfect folding and that clear away misfolded proteins become slightly less efficient. It's as if the workshop's quality inspector is a bit less sharp-eyed, and the cleanup crew is a little slower. This can lead to a gradual accumulation of cellular clutter, misfolded proteins, and other molecular debris. This clutter can interfere with optimal cell function. You can support this cleanup process, known as autophagy, literally self-eating, through practices like intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating, which gives the cells a break from constant production and allows them to focus on internal housekeeping. Furthermore, the mitochondria, the tiny power plants within each cell that generate energy, ATP, also show signs of wear. Their efficiency can decline, and they may produce more free radicals as byproducts. Free radicals are unstable molecules that can damage other cellular components. The body has a sophisticated defense system of antioxidants to neutralize them, but the balance can tip over time, leading to a state of mild, chronic oxidative stress. This oxidative stress contributes to the wear and tear on cellular machinery. It's why antioxidants in foods, like vitamin C in citrus, vitamin E in nuts, and polyphenols in deeply colored berries, are so emphasized for long-term health. They're like gentle custodians, mopping up these reactive molecules before they can cause harm. The connective tissue that holds us together, the collagen and elastin in our skin, the cartilage in our joints, the matrix in our bones, also undergoes change. Collagen fibers, which are strong and rigid, become more cross-linked and less flexible. Elastin fibers, which provide bounce and snap, lose their resilience. This is why skin becomes thinner and less elastic, and why joints can feel stiffer. It's not that the material has disappeared. It's that its physical properties have matured, like a flexible green branch, slowly becoming a sturdy, but less pliable, piece of wood. All of these microscopic changes are slow, incremental, and mostly silent. You don't feel a telomere shortening. You don't notice a single cell becoming senescent. But the collective effect of these trillions of tiny adjustments is what we experience as the aging process, the slower healing, the need for a bit more recovery time, the subtle shift in energy production. The beautiful, crucial thing to understand is that while this process is inevitable, its rate and its impact are not predetermined. They are profoundly influenced by the environment we provide for our cells through our daily choices. The food we eat is the raw material for repair. The rest we get is when the deepest cleanup occurs. The movement we engage in stimulates cellular signaling for maintenance. By understanding this quiet cellular story, we can begin to make choices that support this delicate, lifelong architecture from the ground up. And this cellular story directly shapes the larger, more tangible structures we rely on every day. The scaffold that allows us to stand tall, to move through the world, to embrace, and to hold. Let's turn our attention now to the silent, weight-bearing architecture of the body, our bones and joints. If the cell is a luminous workshop, then the skeleton is the grand mineral cathedral that houses them all. It is our internal architecture, the silent scaffolding that gives us form, protects our softest parts, and serves as the anchor for every motion we make. For most of our lives, we take this structure for granted. It simply is. But like any enduring building, it undergoes slow, continuous renovation. Understanding this renovation is key to maintaining strength, stability, and freedom from pain. Bone is not a dead, static rock. It is a living, dynamic tissue, constantly being broken down and rebuilt in a process called remodeling. Special cells, called osteoclasts, act like careful demolition crews, resorbing old or damaged bone. Following closely behind, cells called osteoblasts lay down new bone matrix, which then becomes mineralized with calcium and phosphate. In our youth and early adulthood, the builders outpace the demolition crew. Our bones grow in size and density, reaching their peak bone mass typically in our late 20s. This peak is crucial. Think of it as building the largest, strongest bone savings account you can. After peak, the balance begins to subtly shift. The demolition and construction crews still work, but the pace of construction slows relative to demolition. We begin to very slowly withdraw from our bone density bank. For women, the decline accelerates for several years around menopause due to the drop in estrogen, a hormone that plays a key protective role in bone building. For men, the decline is more gradual but steady, linked to a slower decline in testosterone. This is the natural process of bone loss that comes with age. However, when this loss becomes severe, the architecture of the bone becomes porous and fragile, a condition known as osteoporosis. It's not that the bone has disappeared. Its intricate internal lattice has become thin and full of holes, like a honeycomb that has been stretched too wide, making it susceptible to fractures from minor falls or even from stresses like a strong cough. The other pillar of our scaffolding is our joints, the elegant hinges, pivots, and sockets where bones meet. The ends of our bones are capped with a smooth, white, gleaming material called articular cartilage. This cartilage is a marvel of engineering. Slicker than ice on ice, it allows for frictionless movement. It has no blood vessels or nerves. It is nourished by the synovial fluid that bathes the joint, which is squeezed in and out of the cartilage like a sponge during movement. This is why motion is literally life for your joints. With the passing decades, the biochemistry of this cartilage changes. The long, springy molecules that give it resilience and shock absorption, proteins like collagen and aggrecan, can become disorganized and degraded. The sponge becomes less sponge-like, drier, and more brittle. Tiny flakes can wear away. This is the essence of osteoarthritis, the most common form of arthritis. It's not a systemic inflammatory disease like rheumatoid arthritis. It's a gradual wear and repair process that, for many, becomes unbalanced. The wear outpaces the body's innate, but slowing capacity to repair the joint lining. This is why you might feel stiffness, especially after periods of rest. The synovial fluid has settled. The joint tissues have cooled and contracted. The first few movements in the morning are like gently waking up this intricate mechanism, encouraging the fluid to circulate and the tissues to warm. The characteristic creaks and pops, known as crepitus, are often just the sound of gas bubbles in the synovial fluid popping, or of tendons moving over bony prominences, usually harmless. a simple acoustic signature of a well-used joint. Our posture, the way we hold this scaffolding against gravity, also naturally evolves. The discs between our spinal vertebrae, which act as hydraulic shock absorbers, lose water content and become thinner over time. This, combined with some bone remodeling, can lead to a slight loss of overall height. The gentle inward curve of the lower back, lumbar lordosis, and outward curve of the upper back, thoracic kyphosis, can become slightly more pronounced. This isn't necessarily a hunch in the pathological sense. It is often a gentle, adaptive curving. However, it can shift our center of gravity forward, affecting balance. Now here is where the beautiful, actionable science comes in. While these processes are natural, their progression is not a foregone conclusion. The scaffolding responds profoundly to the loads placed upon it. Bone is living tissue that gets stronger in response to stress. The mechanical force of weight-bearing and muscle pulling stimulates the osteoblasts, the bone-building cells. This is the Wolff's Law principle. A daily walk, climbing stairs, gentle resistance exercises. These are not just activities, they are signals. They are whispers to your skeleton saying, "We are still using this structure. Please keep it strong." Similarly, joints crave movement through their full, comfortable range of motion. This is the squeezing of the sponge that circulates nourishing fluid and maintains joint health. It's not about high-impact pounding. It's about consistent, varied, graceful motion. Nutrition provides the raw materials. Calcium is the chief mineral of bone, and vitamin D is its essential foreman, directing where calcium is deposited and ensuring its proper absorption from the gut. Without adequate vitamin D, calcium from our diet simply passes through us. Magnesium, vitamin K, and protein are also critical cofactors in the bone-building process. Hydration is vital for the health of the intervertebral discs and the synovial fluid in joints. The story of our scaffolding, then, is a story of intelligent loading and thoughtful nourishment. It's about listening to the whispers of stiffness and responding not with fear, but with the gentle, consistent motion and nutrition that this enduring architecture truly needs. And this architecture exists to house and protect the system that gives it life, the steady, rhythmic pump that sends vitality to every last cell. Within the protective cage of the ribs, resting slightly left of center, beats the quiet drum that sets the tempo for our entire lives. The heart. By the time we reach our later years, this remarkable muscle has contracted and relaxed over 2.5 billion times without a single conscious command from us, without a single full rest. It has pumped millions of gallons of blood through a vascular network so vast that if laid end to end, it could circle the earth multiple times. This system, the heart, and its vast riverine network of arteries, capillaries, and veins, is our internal circulation, the delivery and removal service for every cell in our body. And like any system performing an epic, lifelong task, it too undergoes a gentle, gradual maturation. The heart muscle itself, the myocardium, can experience subtle changes. Some of the muscle cells may be replaced with fibrous tissue, and the walls of the heart's main pumping chamber, the left ventricle, can thicken slightly over time. This isn't automatically a sign of disease. It can be an adaptive response to a lifetime of pumping against the pressure in the arteries. Think of it as a well-used muscle, becoming more defined. Though sometimes this thickening can make the chamber a bit stiffer, affecting how it fills with blood between beats. The heart's natural pacemaker, the sinoatrial node, may see a slight decline in the number of its pacemaking cells, which can contribute to a slightly slower resting heart rate or occasional benign, irregular rhythms. The heart's valves, the elegant one-way doors that ensure blood flows in the correct direction, can also thicken and become a bit less flexible over decades, which can sometimes lead to a gentle murmur, the sound of turbulence in the flow, that a doctor might hear with a stethoscope. Often these are innocent murmurs, simply the acoustic signature of a long-serving valve. Perhaps the most significant change occurs in the arteries, the muscular, elastic tubes that carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. In youth, they are supple and elastic, expanding with each heartbeat to cushion the pulse pressure, and then recoiling to help push blood forward. With time, the fibers within the arterial walls, collagen and elastin, undergo the same cross-linking and stiffening process we discussed in skin and joints. This leads to a condition called arterial stiffness. The arteries become more like rigid pipes than flexible hoses. This has two main effects. First, the heart has to work harder to pump blood into a stiffer system, which can lead to a rise in systolic blood pressure, the top number, the pressure when the heart contracts. It's common for this number to gradually increase with age, while the diastolic pressure, the bottom number, when the heart relaxes, may stay the same or even decrease slightly. This pattern is known as isolated systolic hypertension. Second, the loss of that elastic cushioning means the pulse wave travels faster and reflects back on the heart more forcefully, further increasing its workload. Within these arteries, another slow process can occur: the development of atherosclerosis, often simplistically called hardening of the arteries. This is a more complex process where fatty deposits, cholesterol, calcium, and cellular waste products can build up in the artery wall, forming plaques. It's an inflammatory process influenced by genetics, diet, smoking, and other factors. These plaques can narrow the artery's channel, like silt slowly building up in a riverbed, and can also become unstable. It's a primary focus of cardiovascular prevention, distinct from the universal, age-related stiffening, though the two often coexist. The capillaries, the microscopic vessels where the actual exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and waste occurs with tissues, can also become slightly less dense and efficient. This can contribute to slower wound healing, and may be why muscles sometimes feel like they don't receive fuel or clear waste as quickly as they once did during activity. So, with all these descriptions of stiffening and thickening, does this mean a decline in cardiovascular vitality is inevitable? Absolutely not. Here is where the concept of consistent, gentle conditioning shines with profound importance. The heart is a muscle, and like any muscle, it responds to exercise. Aerobic exercise, the kind that makes you breathe more deeply and elevates your heart rate for a sustained period, is the single best signal you can send to this system. It tells the heart, stay strong and efficient. It promotes the release of nitric oxide, a molecule that helps keep arteries flexible and dilated. It improves the health of the endothelium, the slick, intelligent lining of the blood vessels. It encourages the development of collateral blood vessels, creating natural bypasses around potential blockages. It helps manage blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol levels. And it does not require running marathons. A daily, brisk 30-minute walk is a love letter to your cardiovascular system. Swimming, cycling, dancing, tai chi, any activity that engages the large muscle groups rhythmically, trains the heart to pump more blood with each beat, increasing stroke volume, so it doesn't have to beat as fast at rest. It lowers the resting heart rate, which is a key marker of cardiovascular efficiency. It's the difference between a calm, strong, steady drumbeat and a frantic, shallow tapping. Nutrition, too, plays a starring role. A diet rich in plants provides antioxidants to combat vascular inflammation, nitrates, found in beets and leafy greens, to support blood vessel dilation, potassium, found in bananas, potatoes, beans, to help balance sodium and manage blood pressure, and healthy fats, like those in olive oil, avocados, and fatty fish, that support healthy cholesterol profiles and reduce inflammation. The story of the heart and vessels is not one of inevitable decline, but of adaptation. It's a system designed for longevity, asking only for consistent, gentle use and clean, nourishing fuel. By providing that, we honor the billions of beats that have come before and support the billions more to come. And this powerful circulation exists for one ultimate purpose: to serve the body's tissues, especially the magnificent engines of motion that allow us to interact with our world, our muscles. The heart's rhythm finds its physical expression in the graceful, powerful, and fluid movement of our muscles. They are the engines that translate intention into action, the pulleys and levers attached to our bony scaffolding that allow us to walk, reach, lift, embrace, and explore. For decades, we may have taken their strength and responsiveness for granted. But as the years pass, a quiet, almost imperceptible shift begins, unless we consciously intervene. This shift has a name: sarcopenia. Sarcopenia, from the Greek sarx for flesh and penia for loss, is the age-related, progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass, strength, and function. It is as fundamental to the aging process as the changes in our cells and bones. Beginning as early as our 30s, we can lose, on average, 3 to 5% of our muscle mass per decade, with the rate of loss accelerating after age 60. This isn't about weight. It's about composition. One can be a stable weight, but be slowly exchanging dense, metabolically active muscle tissue for fat and connective tissue. This loss is not just about aesthetics or strength in the gym. It is the single most critical factor in determining functional independence in later life. Why does this matter so profoundly? First, muscle is our metabolic furnace. It is a primary site for burning glucose, sugar, and fat for energy. More muscle mass means a higher resting metabolic rate. You burn more calories, even at rest, which helps maintain a healthy weight and improves insulin sensitivity, protecting against type 2 diabetes. As muscle mass declines, metabolism slows, making weight management more challenging. Second, muscle is essential for mobility and balance. Strong leg muscles allow us to rise from a chair, climb stairs, walk without fear of falling, and catch ourselves if we stumble. They are our personal stability system. Weak muscles directly contribute to frailty, loss of balance, and the increased risk of falls, which are a major cause of injury and loss of independence for older adults. Third, muscle acts as a protein reservoir. During illness, injury, or periods of poor appetite, the body can break down muscle protein to provide amino acids for immune function and tissue repair. Having ample muscle mass provides a crucial buffer, a savings account of protein to draw upon during times of stress. Without it, recovery from even a minor illness can be prolonged and difficult. What causes sarcopenia? It's a complex symphony of factors. The cellular changes we discussed play a role. Fewer satellite cells, muscle stem cells, to aid repair, changes in hormone levels, like growth hormone and testosterone, and increased inflammation that it can promote muscle breakdown. But two of the most significant and modifiable factors are disuse and inadequate nutrition. For generations, the message to older adults was to take it easy. We now know this is perhaps the worst possible advice. Muscles operate on a profound use it or lose it principle. Without the regular stimulus of resistance or load, they receive no signal to maintain themselves, and atrophy accelerates. The beautiful, empowering truth is that muscle tissue retains an incredible capacity to respond and strengthen at any age. It's never too late to send the signal. This is where the concept of gentle, consistent strength training becomes non-negotiable for long-term vitality. We are not talking about bodybuilding or heavy powerlifting. We are talking about progressive resistance exercise, consistently challenging your muscles with slightly more than they are used to. This can be the weight of your own body, chair squats, wall push-ups, heel raises, resistance bands, incredibly versatile and safe, light dumbbells, or even the resistance of water in a pool. The goal is not fatigue or soreness, but stimulation. The signal tells the muscle fibers to repair, to grow stronger, and to recruit more of their existing cells. It improves the neuromuscular connection, the communication between brain and muscle, making movements more efficient and controlled. This type of training, done just 2 to 3 times per week, is the most powerful tool we have to combat sarcopenia and preserve functional independence. Equally important is protein intake. As we age, our bodies become slightly less efficient at using dietary protein to build and repair muscle, a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. This means we need more high-quality protein per meal to trigger the same muscle-building response. Spreading protein intake evenly across the day, aiming for 25, 30 grams per meal, is far more effective than eating most of it at dinner. Excellent sources include eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, lean poultry, fish, beans, lentils, tofu, and for some, a well-formulated protein powder supplement. Pairing protein intake with resistance exercise is the ultimate 1-2 punch for maintaining muscle. The exercise provides the build here signal, and the protein provides the bricks and mortar. The story of our muscles is one of profound adaptability and response. They do not want to wither. They are waiting, always, for the signal to stay vital. By engaging in regular, kind, strength-building movement, and nourishing them with adequate protein, we are not fighting aging. We are collaborating with our body's innate wisdom to preserve the very engine of our independence and joy. And these muscles, this heart, these bones, They all require a constant, intelligent supply of fuel and a meticulous system to process it. Let's turn our attention now to the inner landscape of digestion and metabolism. Our journey now turns inward, to the soft, winding labyrinth where the outer world is transformed into the inner world of the body. The digestive system is our personal alchemist, taking the food and drink we consume and transmuting it into energy, building materials, and signals. This landscape, too, undergoes a gentle, gradual evolution that changes how we experience nourishment and utilize energy. The process often begins at the very gate, our sense of taste and smell. The number of taste buds on the tongue slowly decreases, and their regeneration slows. The sense of smell, which contributes enormously to flavor, can also diminish. This is why food might start to taste blander, or why you might crave more salt or sugar to achieve the same flavor hit. It's not that your appreciation for food is gone. It's that the signal reaching your brain has been turned down. This can inadvertently lead to using less nutritious, more heavily seasoned processed foods, or to a simple loss of interest in eating, which poses a risk for undernutrition. In the mouth, saliva production may decrease, a condition called xerostomia, which can be a side effect of some medications or simply an age-related change. Saliva is not just for moisture. It contains enzymes that begin the breakdown of starches and lubricates food for easy swallowing. Less saliva can make chewing and swallowing less comfortable and may contribute to dental issues. Swallowing itself can become a slightly more deliberate process as the muscles of the throat and esophagus lose some of their coordination and strength. This is why some may feel the need to eat more slowly, or take smaller bites to avoid coughing, or the sensation of food going down the wrong pipe. Once in the stomach, production of stomach acid, hydrochloric acid, can decline. This acid is crucial for unraveling proteins, activating digestive enzymes, and killing harmful bacteria ingested with food. Lower levels can lead to slower stomach emptying, a feeling of fullness after smaller meals, and potentially reduced absorption of certain nutrients like vitamin B12, iron, and calcium. The stomach lining itself may also become more susceptible to irritation. The small intestine, where the lion's share of nutrient absorption occurs, remains remarkably resilient. However, the microscopic villi and microvilli that line it, the finger-like projections that massively increase surface area for absorption, can become slightly blunted. This, combined with changes in the production of digestive enzymes from the pancreas, can lead to a subtle reduction in the efficiency of absorbing fats, certain carbohydrates, and some vitamins and minerals. Perhaps one of the most fascinating areas of modern research is the gut microbiome, the vast, diverse community of trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi that reside in our intestines, particularly the colon. This microbiome is like an internal ecosystem involved in digestion, vitamin production, like vitamin K and some B vitamins, immune system training, and even communication with the brain via the gut-brain axis. With age, the diversity and stability of this microbiome often decline. The population can shift toward less beneficial and more inflammatory species. This change is influenced by diet, medication use, especially antibiotics, and lifestyle. A less diverse microbiome is linked to weaker immune function, poorer nutrient extraction, and increased systemic inflammation. Finally, the body's metabolism, the sum of all chemical processes that maintain life, naturally slows. The basal metabolic rate, BMR, the energy expended at complete rest to maintain basic functions like breathing and circulation, declines by roughly 1 to 2% per decade after age 20. This is due largely to the loss of metabolically active muscle mass, sarcopenia, and changes in organ size and function. This means that to maintain the same body weight, we need slightly fewer calories as we age. If eating habits remain unchanged while activity decreases, weight gain is a common, gradual result. So, faced with this portrait of a slowing, less sensitive, and slightly less efficient digestive landscape, what is the path to supporting it? The answer lies in mindfulness, quality, and consistency. Mindful eating. Eating in a calm environment, chewing thoroughly, which compensates for less stomach acid and aids digestion. And paying attention to hunger and fullness cues become more important than ever. It's about making the act of nourishment a gentle, focused ritual. Nutrient-dense foods. Since we may need more nutrients from fewer calories, the quality of food becomes paramount. Every bite should count. Prioritize high-quality protein to combat anabolic resistance and support muscle mass, as discussed. Fiber is found in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and nuts. Fiber is the preferred food for beneficial gut bacteria, a prebiotic, helps prevent constipation, a common age-related issue due to slower gut motility, and helps manage cholesterol and blood sugar levels. Aim for 25, 30 grams per day. Hydration is crucial. Thirst sensation often diminishes with age, making dehydration a silent risk. Water is essential for every digestive process, for joint health, for kidney function, and for cognitive clarity. Sipping water throughout the day, not just when thirsty, is a key habit. Herbal teas and water-rich fruits and vegetables, cucumber, watermelon, celery, also contribute. Probiotic and prebiotic foods support the gut microbiome. Probiotics, live beneficial bacteria, are found in fermented foods like yogurt with live cultures, kefir, sauerkraut kimchi, and miso. Prebiotics, food for the bacteria, are found in fiber-rich foods like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, and oats. Pay special attention to micronutrients commonly at risk: vitamin B12 from animal products or fortified foods. Absorption may require supplementation. Vitamin D from sun, fortified foods, or supplements. Calcium and potassium. The goal is not to eat a perfect, restrictive diet, but to create a gentle, consistent pattern of nourishment that respects the changing inner landscape. It's about feeding not just the body, but the trillions of microbial partners within it, stoking the metabolic fire with clean, steady fuel. And after the work of digestion and activity, the body requires its most profound state of repair and integration, deep, restorative rest. If the day is for action, nourishment, and engagement, then the night is for repair, consolidation, and quiet integration. Sleep is not a passive void. It is an active, essential, and complex physiological state. It is when the brain cleanses itself of metabolic waste, when memories are solidified, when hormones regulating growth and appetite are released, and when the body's tissues undergo their most focused repair. The architecture of this restorative quiet naturally evolves as we age, and understanding this evolution is key to embracing rest rather than fighting it. The most notable change is in sleep architecture, the pattern of sleep stages we cycle through each night. We move between light sleep, stages 1, 2, deep slow-wave sleep, stage 3, and REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, associated with dreaming. With age, the proportion of time spent in deep, slow-wave sleep decreases significantly. This is the most physically restorative sleep, crucial for tissue repair, immune function, and the feeling of being refreshed upon waking. We also experience a reduction in REM sleep, which is vital for emotional processing, memory consolidation, and cognitive function. Conversely, we spend more time in the lighter stages of sleep. This makes sleep more fragile, more easily disrupted by noise, pain, or the need to use the bathroom. The number of awakenings throughout the night increases. You might wake up several times, even if just for a minute or two, before drifting back off. This can lead to the perception of poor sleep, even if total sleep time is adequate. It's not necessarily insomnia. It's a fragmentation of the sleep cycle. The body's internal clock, the circadian rhythm, also tends to shift forward, a phenomenon called phase advancement. We often feel sleepier earlier in the evening, for example, 8 or 9 p.m., and wake up earlier in the morning, for example, 4 or 5 a.m. This is a normal adjustment, influenced by changes in the production of melatonin, the sleep-promoting hormone, and a decreased sensitivity to the light-dark cues that help set our clock. The homeostatic sleep drive, the body's buildup of sleep pressure during wakefulness, may also weaken slightly. This means you might not feel as overwhelmingly sleepy at bedtime as you once did, which can make initiating sleep more challenging. All of these changes can be frustrating if we hold on to the expectation of the solid, uninterrupted 9-hour sleep of our youth. But what if we reframed it? What if this pattern is, in part, an adaptation? Some researchers theorize that lighter, more fragmented sleep with earlier waking may have had an evolutionary advantage for older members of the community, allowing for heightened environmental awareness to guard the group. Whether that's true or not, accepting this new pattern as a normal variation rather than a failure is the first step toward peace. Beyond nighttime sleep, the nervous system's need for balance becomes paramount. The autonomic nervous system has two main branches: the sympathetic, fight or flight, for arousal and action, and the parasympathetic, rest and digest, for calm and restoration. With age, the body can become less efficient at bouncing back from sympathetic arousal. A stressful event might lead to a longer-lasting elevation in cortisol, the stress hormone, and a slower return to baseline calm. This is why chronic stress is particularly damaging in later years, contributing to inflammation, high blood pressure, impaired immunity, and cognitive issues. This makes the deliberate cultivation of the parasympathetic state, true rest and relaxation, a critical health practice. It's not just about sleep, but about daytime quiet, periods of intentional calm that counteract the low-grade buzz of modern life. So, how do we support this changing landscape of rest and nervous system balance? Sleep hygiene. This is the foundation. Creating a consistent routine. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, to reinforce the circadian rhythm. Ensuring the bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. Using the bed only for sleep and intimacy, not for watching TV or using phones. Establishing a relaxing pre-sleep ritual. Perhaps 30 minutes of reading a physical book, not a screen, gentle stretching, listening to calming music, or a warm bath. The blue light from screens, phones, tablets, TVs is particularly disruptive to melatonin production and should be avoided for at least an hour before bed. Managing light exposure. Getting bright, natural light exposure. First thing in the morning helps reset the circadian clock and promotes alertness during the day. Conversely, dimming lights in the evening signals to the body that it's time to wind down. Mind-body practices. Techniques like deep, diaphragmatic breathing, meditation, gentle yoga, or progressive muscle relaxation are direct tools for activating the parasympathetic nervous system. They lower heart rate, blood pressure, and cortisol levels. Even 5 minutes of focused breathing can act as a system reset during a stressful day. Navigating naps. If an early wake time leads to daytime sleepiness, a short power nap, 20-30 minutes, in the early afternoon can be rejuvenating without interfering with nighttime sleep. Long or late naps, however, can make it harder to fall asleep at night. Addressing pain and discomfort. Pain is a major sleep disruptor. Working with a healthcare provider to manage chronic pain, arthritis, or other conditions through medication, physical therapy, or gentle movement can dramatically improve sleep quality. Rest, in its fullest sense, is the essential counterpart to activity. It is the quiet workshop where the body integrates the day's experiences, repairs the minor damages of living, and prepares for the day to come. Honoring this need for restorative quiet through good sleep practices and conscious relaxation is not a luxury. It is a cornerstone of sustaining vitality for the long journey. And it is with a rested, calm nervous system that we can best engage in the final, active piece of the puzzle: intentional, gentle movement. Behind our eyes, within the protective vault of the skull, lies the most complex structure in the known universe, the human brain. It is the seat of our consciousness, our memories, our personality, and our perception of the world. It processes a constant flood of information from our senses, makes split-second decisions, and holds the library of a lifetime. Like every other system, the brain undergoes a lifelong process of change and adaptation, a process we are only beginning to fully appreciate for its nuance and resilience. Let's begin with the physical landscape. From our late 20s onward, the brain very gradually loses volume and weight, a process called brain atrophy. This occurs at a rate of about 5% per decade after age 40. The shrinkage is not uniform. Some areas, like the prefrontal cortex, involved in complex planning, decision-making, and social behavior, and the hippocampus, the critical hub for forming new memories, are more affected than others. The white matter, the bundled, insulated wiring that connects different brain regions, can develop small lesions and lose some integrity, potentially slowing the speed of signal transmission. This is why processing speed, how quickly we can take in new information and react to it, tends to slow down. You might need a moment longer to recall a name or follow a complex set of verbal instructions. This is a normal, universal change, distinct from dementia. At the cellular level, the brain produces fewer neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that allow neurons to communicate. Levels of dopamine, involved in reward, motivation, and motor control, acetylcholine, crucial for learning and memory, and serotonin, mood and sleep regulation, may decline. This can subtly influence motivation, memory encoding, and mood stability. And then there is memory itself. It's important to distinguish between normal age-related memory changes and pathological ones. Normal changes might include slower retrieval. It takes longer to pull up a word or a name, but it usually comes to you later. It's on the tip of my tongue. Source memory. Forgetting where you heard a piece of information, while remembering the information itself. Perspective memory. Forgetting an intention, like walking into a room and forgetting why. This is often a failure of attention during the moment the intention was formed, not a failure of memory storage. Benign forgetfulness. Misplacing keys or glasses, which happens to people of all ages, but may be noticed more. These are typically not signs of dementia. Dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease, involves a progressive and disabling loss of cognitive function that interferes with daily life. Forgetting how to perform familiar tasks, getting lost in familiar places, significant personality changes, or being unable to learn and retain any new information. The most revolutionary discovery in neuroscience over the past few decades is neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. For a long time, it was believed the brain was hardwired in adulthood. We now know the brain can adapt, learn, and rewire itself until the end of life. It does this in response to learning, experience, and even recovery from injury. This is the brain's magnificent adaptive grace. While creating brand new neurons, neurogenesis, in most areas is limited. The existing neurons can sprout new dendrites, branches, and strengthen connections through use. What fires together, wires together. Our sensory windows to the world also change. Vision. The lens of the eye becomes less flexible, making it harder to focus on close objects, presbyopia. The lens also yellows and clouds slightly, reducing contrast sensitivity and increasing sensitivity to glare. Conditions like cataracts, clouding of the lens, glaucoma, pressure damage to the optic nerve, and macular degeneration, damage to the central retina, become more common. Hearing, age-related hearing loss, presbycusis, typically begins with difficulty hearing high-frequency sounds and understanding speech in noisy environments. It's often a slow, subtle process. These sensory changes aren't just inconveniences. They can lead to social isolation if conversation becomes difficult, increased fall risk if balance, which relies on visual and auditory cues, is impaired, and even cognitive load as the brain works harder to interpret degraded signals. So how do we support this luminous, adaptive mind? Cognitive engagement. The use it or lose it principle applies powerfully here. Engaging in novel, complex, and challenging mental activities builds cognitive reserve, a resilience against age-related changes and pathology. This isn't about doing crossword puzzles you've mastered for decades. It's about learning something truly new, a language, a musical instrument, a complex craft, a new technology, or even new routes for your daily walk. It's about reading deeply, having substantive conversations, playing strategic games, or taking a class. Novelty and challenge are the keys. Physical exercise. Perhaps the single most effective thing you can do for your brain is to move your body. Aerobic exercise increases blood flow to the brain, stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a fertilizer for brain cells, promotes neurogenesis in the hippocampus, and reduces inflammation. It is a direct promoter of brain health. Social connection. Meaningful social engagement is not just emotionally fulfilling. It is cognitively demanding and protective. Conversations require rapid processing, memory, empathy, and attention. Strong social networks are consistently linked to better cognitive outcomes and longevity. Managing sensory health. Regular checkups for vision and hearing are crucial. Using corrective lenses and considering hearing aids when recommended are not signs of defeat, but acts of empowerment that keep you connected to the world and reduce cognitive strain. Mindfulness and stress. Reduction. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which can be toxic to hippocampal cells. Practices that reduce stress protect the brain's memory centers. The story of the aging brain is not one of simple decline. It is a story of change, of adaptation, and of incredible latent potential. By providing it with novel challenges, clean fuel through a healthy diet, good blood flow, rich social connections, and protection from chronic stress, we are not fighting aging. We are cultivating an environment where the brain's innate wisdom and adaptive grace can flourish for all our days. And all of these individual threads, cellular health, strong bones, a steady heart, vital muscles, efficient digestion, restorative sleep, and a sharp mind, are not isolated. They are woven together by the fabric of our daily lives. It is in our routines that theory becomes practice, and knowledge becomes vitality. We have wandered through the inner landscapes of the body, understanding the quiet, intelligent changes that occur with time. Now, we arrive at the most practical and empowering chapter: how to translate this understanding into the gentle rhythm of daily life. Long-term well-being is not built on grand, occasional gestures, but on the quiet, consistent patterns we repeat day after day, week after week. It is in these routines that we compose our personal symphony of health. Let's explore how to craft a score that supports every system we've discussed. The rhythm of nourishment. Forget strict diets and rigid meal plans. Think, instead, of a gentle, daily pattern that provides steady fuel and abundant building materials. The anchor meals. Aim for 3 balanced meals, or smaller meals, with healthy snacks, at roughly the same times each day. This regularity supports stable blood sugar, digestive rhythms, and energy levels. The protein principle. Remember anabolic resistance. Ensure each meal contains a palm-sized serving of high-quality protein. Breakfast could be Greek yogurt with nuts and berries, or eggs with whole grain toast. Lunch might be a lentil soup or a salad with chickpeas and tuna. Dinner could feature baked fish or chicken with quinoa and roasted vegetables. The rainbow plate. Make half your plate by visual volume, non-starchy vegetables, and fruits of diverse colors. Each color represents different phytonutrients, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds that support cellular health, vision, and brain function. The fiber flow. Incorporate a source of fiber at every meal. vegetables, fruits, whole grains, oats, brown rice, barley, beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds. This feeds your microbiome, promotes satiety, and keeps digestion moving smoothly. The hydration habit. Keep a water bottle visible. Sip throughout the day. Start the morning with a glass of water. Include herbal teas and broths. Monitor urine color. Aim for pale yellow. Mindful moments. Sit down to eat. Put away distractions. Chew slowly. Appreciate the colors, textures, and flavors. This improves digestion, allows satiety signals to register, and transforms eating from a task into a nourishing ritual. The rhythm of movement. Movement is not a separate workout to be dreaded. It is a natural part of a vital day, woven into the fabric of your hours. The daily walk. This is the cornerstone. A 30-minute daily walk, preferably outdoors in nature, provides cardiovascular conditioning, strengthens bones and muscles, improves mood, aids digestion, and supports brain health. Break it into 2 15-minute sessions if needed. The pace should be brisk enough that you can talk, but not sing. The strength signal. 2 to 3 times per week, engage in gentle strength training. This can be a simple 20-minute routine at home. Examples: seated leg lifts, standing heel raises, chair squats, standing up and sitting down slowly and with control, bicep curls with light weights or cans of food, and rows with a resistance band. Focus on good form, not heavy weight. The goal is to feel the muscle working, not to exhaust it. The flexibility flow. Daily gentle stretching maintains range of motion in joints and prevents stiffness. Incorporate it upon waking, after a walk, or before bed. Focus on major muscle groups: calves, thighs, hips, back, chest, and shoulders. Hold each stretch gently for 30 seconds, without bouncing. Yoga or Tai Chi are magnificent, holistic practices that combine strength, balance, flexibility, and breath awareness. The balance practice. Integrate balance exercises daily. Simple, safe practices include standing on one foot while holding onto a counter, for example, while brushing your teeth, walking heel to toe in a line, or practicing sitting down and standing up from a chair without using your hands. This is proactive fall prevention. The non-exercise activity. Cultivate neat, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Garden, putter around the house, park farther away, take the stairs, hand wash dishes. All of this counts and keeps the metabolism subtly engaged. The rhythm of rest. Honor the body's need for quiet as diligently as its need for activity. The sleep sanctuary. Adhere to your sleep hygiene ritual. A consistent wind-down time is a gift to your nervous system. The daytime. Pause. Schedule short, quiet breaks in your day. 5 minutes of deep breathing, sitting with a cup of tea and looking out the window, listening to a piece of calming music. These are mini resets for the parasympathetic nervous system. The digital sunset. Commit to turning off screens at least an hour before bed. The alternative? Reading, listening to soft music or an audio story, gentle conversation, or light stretching. The rhythm of connection. We are social beings. Isolation is a toxin to health. Connection is a nutrient. The daily touch point. Make a phone call, send a text, or have a brief conversation with a friend or family member every day. The weekly social nourishment. Schedule at least one meaningful social engagement per week. A coffee with a friend, a visit with family, a club meeting, a volunteer shift, or a class at a community center. The community thread. Find a group aligned with an interest: a book club, a walking group, a gardening club, a place of worship, a senior center activity. Shared purpose fosters belonging. The rhythm of the mind. Keep the brain engaged, curious, and playful. The learning project. Always have something you're casually learning about or learning to do. It could be family history, bird watching, a new recipe each week, or the basics of a language via an app. The creative outlet. Engage in a creative practice, no matter how simple. Sketching, knitting, writing in a journal, playing music, gardening, cooking. Creativity engages different neural networks. The presence practice. Spend time in nature without distraction. Observe the details of a leaf. Listen to the birds. Feel the sun or breeze. This is a form of mindfulness that reduces stress and grounds you in the present. A routine is not a prison. It is a framework of care that creates freedom from sickness, frailty, and low energy. It eliminates the daily question of, "What should I do?" and replaces it with the gentle flow of, "This is what I do." It is in the consistency of these small, loving actions that the magic of long-term well-being is woven. But why does consistency matter so much more than intensity? This leads us to the core philosophy that ties all of quiet vitality together. We live in a culture that celebrates the extreme, the dramatic transformation, the intense 30-day challenge, the punishing workout, the drastic cleanse. These approaches operate on a logic of force, of shock, and awe directed at the body. They might yield fast, visible results in the short term for a young, resilient physiology, but for a body that has been ticking for 60, 70, 80 years or more, this logic is not only ineffective, it can be counterproductive and even harmful. The aging body operates on a different, wiser principle, the principle of the gentle clock. It responds not to the loud crash, but to the quiet, persistent tick. Not to the storm, but to the steady rain that nourishes deep roots. This is because the systems we discussed are fundamentally adapted for homeostasis, maintaining a stable, balanced internal environment, and for long-term repair, not rapid reconstruction. Let's explore the physiology behind why consistency and balance are the superior paths. First, the law of diminishing returns and the risk of injury. An intense workout, say lifting very heavy weights or running a long distance without proper conditioning, places massive, acute stress on the musculoskeletal system. For an older body with slower repair mechanisms, less flexible connective tissue, and perhaps pre-existing joint changes, this stress can easily cross the threshold from stimulus to damage. It can lead to muscle strains, tendinitis, joint inflammation, or stress fractures. The recovery from such an injury can take weeks or months, during which all positive activity may cease, leading to significant deconditioning, a net loss. A consistent, moderate routine, however, provides a sustainable stimulus that strengthens tissues gradually, allowing them to adapt safely. It's the difference between trying to bend a mature, dry branch quickly, it snaps, and applying gentle, steady pressure over time, it might flex. Second, the metabolic wisdom of steady fuel. The body's metabolism, as it slows, prefers a steady supply of nutrients. Erratic eating, skipping meals, then overeating, sends chaotic signals to the insulin system, promoting fat storage and insulin resistance. Consistent, balanced meals, on the other hand, keep blood sugar stable, provide a continuous stream of amino acids for muscle repair, and tell the body it is safe and nourished, optimizing metabolic function. Third, the nervous system's need for predictability. The autonomic nervous system thrives on rhythm. Erratic sleep, chaotic schedules, and bursts of high stress, followed by collapse, are deeply disruptive. They keep the sympathetic, fight or flight system in a state of low-grade alarm, elevating cortisol chronically. A consistent routine of sleep, meals, activity, and relaxation provides predictable cues that help regulate the circadian rhythm and promote parasympathetic dominance. This lowers systemic inflammation, improves sleep quality, and enhances digestion. The body learns to trust its environment. Fourth, the cumulative power of microadaptations. The body builds strength, endurance, and resilience through the cumulative effect of thousands of tiny, positive adaptations. Each gentle walk stimulates a little more capillary growth in the muscles, a slight improvement in mitochondrial efficiency, a small release of beneficial brain chemicals. Each protein-rich meal provides the bricks for a fractional amount of muscle protein synthesis. Each good night's sleep allows for another round of cellular cleanup. None of these single acts is dramatic, but compounded over months and years, they reshape your physiological landscape. They are deposits in your health savings account that earn compounding interest. An intense, sporadic effort is like a single, large deposit followed by long withdrawals. The account doesn't grow. Fifth, the psychological sustainability of gentle habits. Willpower is a finite resource. Draconian diets and brutal exercise regimes rely on massive willpower, which inevitably depletes, leading to burnout and abandonment. Gentle, integrated habits, however, require less conscious effort over time. They become automatic, part of your identity. I am a person who takes a morning walk, not I am forcing myself to exercise. This makes them sustainable for a lifetime. Balance, therefore, is not a compromise. It is the highest goal. It is the state where no single system is being overtaxed at the expense of another. It is the sweet spot where activity is balanced with rest, challenge with recovery, nourishment with enjoyment, social engagement with solitude. It is listening to the body's quiet feedback. Feeling stiff? Perhaps today's movement is gentle stretching and a walk, not strength training. Feeling unusually tired? Honor it with an extra rest period or an early night. Had a large social gathering? Balance it with a quiet day of recuperation. This philosophy rejects the notion of no pain, no gain. It replaces it with listen, respond, and sustain. Your body is not an adversary to be conquered. It is a wise, long-term partner in the journey of your life. It communicates through sensations, energy, stiffness, comfort, hunger, satiety, calm. By choosing consistent, balanced actions, you open a dialogue with this wisdom. You learn its language. You support its innate capacity for health. This is the heart of quiet vitality, not adding years to your life, but adding profound, gentle, sustained life to your years. You are the gardener. Closing thoughts on tending your long, beautiful life. Our calm journey is drawing to a close. We have traveled from the microscopic world of your cells to the grand architecture of your bones, from the steady rhythm of your heart to the luminous complexity of your mind. We've seen how daily routines of simple food, gentle movement, and deep rest are not chores, but the very threads that weave the fabric of long-term well-being. And we've understood the core truth, that the body, in its wisdom, responds not to force, but to the patient, consistent, and balanced care of a trusted gardener. For that is what you are. You are the gardener of the one irreplaceable plot of earth that is your physical being. You did not choose the soil you started with, your genetics. You did not control all the weather patterns that have passed over it, the illnesses, the accidents, the joys, and the stresses of your unique life. But you hold the tools for its care now. You decide what is planted each day through your choices. You provide the water of hydration, the nutrient-rich compost of wholesome food, the sunlight of movement, and the necessary fallow periods of rest. You cannot force a tomato to grow by pulling on the vine, but you can, with patient, daily tending, create the conditions where thriving is not just possible, but natural. Some days, the garden will be bursting with energy and color. Other days, it may need more water, or less sun, or simply time. The skillful gardener observes, responds, and trusts in the process. There is no finish line in a garden. There is only the cycle of the seasons, each with its own purpose and beauty. So, as you go from this quiet space back to the gentle flow of your life, carry this metaphor with you. When you choose an apple over a packaged snack, you are adding rich compost. When you take a 10-minute stroll, you are letting the sunlight in. When you sip your tea slowly, looking out the window, you are providing a period of nourishing quiet. When you lift a light weight or rise from your chair with mindful strength, you are staking the plants so they grow upright and resilient. When you call a friend, you are ensuring your garden is part of a larger, supportive ecosystem. It is never too late to pick up the tools. The body's capacity to respond, to heal, to adapt, and to find vitality is present until our last breath. Start not with a revolution, but with a single, gentle rotation of the earth. One glass of water upon waking. One 10-minute walk in the fresh air. One moment of deep, conscious breath when you feel rushed. One extra vegetable on your plate. This is how a lifetime of health is built, not in a day, but across thousands of them, each one an opportunity for a small, loving act of care. You are the gardener. Your body is the garden, and the potential for quiet, enduring vitality is the seed that has been within you all along. If this calm, curious exploration of your own well-being has been a peaceful companion for you, and if you'd like to join us for more gentle journeys into senior health, stories about sleep, about heart-friendly foods, about building balance, about the science of happiness in later life, then please consider tending our little corner of the garden here. Liking this video and subscribing to Quiet Vitality helps our community grow. It helps others, perhaps feeling alone or overwhelmed by noisy health advice, find their way to this quiet, sensible path. One sleepy soul, one curious mind, one gentle gardener at a time. For now, let the images of your inner landscape, your strong bones, your steady heart, your nourished cells, your resilient mind, drift behind your thoughts. You're part of a magnificent biological story that is still being written, a story of adaptation, of grace, and of quiet, powerful vitality. Thank you for spending this time caring for yourself. I hope you sleep well and dream softly.